Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we go back to one of our favorite blenders, the Compass Box. This time, the Delos. Dustin, what can you tell us about it?
So this is part of their Extinct Blend series they're doing right now. I believe they're going to do 4. I passed on the first one that came out because, well, it was pricey and it didn't jump out at me. This one, however, made me pretty excited because 25% of this, or roughly, let me just go to my phone here, guys. Apologies, but to make sure I get this right. So 33.4 of this is 25-year-old from Imperial, which is a closed distillery that I think quite highly of. It then, which is first fill bourbon. Then it has another 28.5% from a recharred American oak barrel from Glen Elgin.
All right.
Definitely a distillery I like. Mm-hmm. We are, by the way, just cracking this today.
Yeah. It's a new bottle crack. We just picked up this bottle. Dustin just picked it up on its way here.
So we're going to try to get this. It'll be the first video that we put out, and we're going to get this to our patrons as soon as possible.
Yep.
And then you guys are probably going to be seeing it probably at the end of March.
Dustin comes in at 49% ABV.
Yep. And that's something they do traditionally with their blended malts when they use grain. And this does use Cameronbridge Distillery and Miltonduff Town. Both are first fill bourbon, and both are in the 20-something age range. So everything in here is around 20 plus.
Compass Box, a bottler, or how should I say, a blender that we loved for a very, very long time. Almost everything we got was good money for the value, and they were very, very good whiskeys. You know, over the last 3 or 4 years, I'd say they're hit and miss a little bit more.
Prices have gone up, and I think they can't get the same quality of barrels they used to get, so it happens.
Yeah, so let's see what we got going on with this one, Dustin.
This smells incredible, Mike. Wow. Just a punch of fruit and vanilla.
Yep. I'll say a fruit basket. Comes off very, almost Balvenie. A lot of vanilla, a lot of nice citrus fruits.
But it's like instead of that honeycomb thing that Balvenie does, this is like a lighter, like oak, like, I don't know, carbohydrate of some sort. This is a lighter version. I'm not sure what it is. Is it rice cakes? It's not rice.
There's a nice waxiness to this as well.
Very waxy, you're right. Which they did without Klein Leach, but you know John Glazier likes wax. Now, this was done by James Saxon, who is one of their new whiskey makers. I don't know if he's the lead. They've got a couple people there with John now. I mean,
it's waxy vanilla, really nice waxy fruits. You know, it's like the fake fruit basket of, wax fruits.
Man.
They're full, they're rich.
I was scared this was going to be, a little closed off, just cracking it open, 20-plus-year-old whiskeys. Man, no, this is in your face intense.
Yeah, the grain note starts to come out now too. Something kind of a powdery grain. It's becoming a little bit more sugary.
Yeah, you're right.
As it develops.
Whew, man.
Fruits are becoming more stewed.
I am very pleased so far with this purchase.
The fruits are very sharp and ripe too.
It is gorgeous.
It is the show.
Waxy, fruity, extremely oily already. You can just tell this is going to have a rich mouthfeel.
It's a very dense smell. Reminds me of the Glen Elgin Give and Tell 25-year cast strength.
Well, I had to pour this first, Mike, because it wasn't peated, and I expected this to be delicate. Because I know, if you remember back, we had it was a blend of Imperial and Abelauer. It was another Compass Box, and the whole thing was basically they just put a drop of that Abelauer in there. I can't think of the name of it. It'll come to me later. But I remember being impressed by that Imperial, but thinking, that Imperial is a very soft, gentle spirit. This is a third Imperial. But, man.
A little bit of spice coming up now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, believe it or not, I think that's coming from the malt, not from the grain, which is usually where I would get that spice. This is a nicer, more eloquent. Now, I will say that the grains were all first fill bourbon, which is unusual. Usually you get grain whiskey that's in third, fourth fill. That's part of why people don't like grain whiskey.
I think, with the vanilla note in this, I would expect a heavy bourbon influence. And when you say first fill bourbon, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I think 3 of the components are first fill bourbon. So
very clean, too, if I haven't mentioned that before. Inviting smell, it really is. It's warm, It kind of sashaying. I said spices before. I try to think, okay, what spices? It's kind of sashaying into like the light baking spices, light cinnamon, a light clove. It's almost like the spices are in the rack, not in front of your face, but you can just get a soft little whiff of them.
Again, this is apple pie that your grandma's making. Like, she's making the crust. No apples here, but the crust is definitely in the works. Yeah, I mean, it's getting fruitier, it's getting spicier. Man, everything about this is just excellent. Just excellent. And the ABV, it knows is perfect.
A lot of fruit. Stinging citrus, especially as soon as you swallow it, is stinging citrus, on the palate. Initially, when I took it on the palate, along with the fruits, there was a nice kind of vanilla cream, vanilla syrup. You can almost convince me vanilla yogurt. As soon as you swallow, this biting, sharp citrus, lime, lemon in your eye.
Interesting. I'm getting a very different experience here, Mike.
All right.
I mean, up front, I think we're pretty much in the same boat. Big vanilla. It's oily.
It is
creamy. Rich. It's dessert, but it's not a high-end dessert. It's a Little Debbie's, type of like vanilla notes. I started to pick up on some fruits that I can't quite put my finger on. I'd have to, go back and spend some more time with this one again. We wanted to get this out because we know they're just hitting the market, and we wanted you guys to get our thoughts before you have to make a decision. There are only 5,000 bottles.
All right, so where do you disagree with me on the
Where I disagree is on the finish. To me, smoky, roasted oak notes. Not peat by any stretch, but really rich. I mean, a lot of dark ook note.
Couldn't quite get there, man, with that citrus. That citrus was pretty strong, but I'm not saying it's not there. But
And I don't get citrus at all.
Really?
Yeah, no.
It was right on the sides, biting.
On the outside, I get a little bit of maybe citrus, but to me, it's oak.
Biting citrus oak, maybe. We'll go for a second little taste.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Put a little drop of water in there, which I don't think is going to do a whole lot to hurt this because it's got a great mouthfeel.
It is very dense.
And you know what I mean? It's like left my entire mouth coated beautifully.
All right, Dustin, now we got a little bit of water in here. This reminds me of something I know well, of my days walking to school when I was a boy. Hostess apple pies. You remember those little half kind of fold over apple or cherry or peach pie?
I've had the cherry ones. I don't remember ever having an apple one.
Apple, those were my favorite. The Hostess apple
I know they made
pie.
them.
It was apple and cinnamon, but it was a really soft cinnamon. You know what I mean? It just... it just gave you the idea of cinnamon with that apple.
And more pastry and baked goods for sure coming through now.
But, I mean, that's what it was. You know what I mean? It was that it was that mass-produced, glazed donut almost casing of it. And it made it almost look like a taco. They had little ridges kind of where they bent it over and closed it. Man, I'm getting a lot of it. It was all sugar, of course, on the outside.
He's back to his day school.
I love a treat, as you know. There is no ice cream or cake or cereal that I do not like.
There's an almost like a tomato is technically a fruit, but a lot of people think of it more of the savory kind of like vegetable thing. There's a fruit vegetable kind of hybrid thing going on here that's actually really pleasant. It's kind of in the second half of the mid-nosing, like up front sweet, switches over you a little bit of that toast and spice, but right before the spice kicks in, I'm getting this interesting fruit, savory like fruit thing. I've got no idea what kind of fruit it is.
Dustin, I didn't realize that a tomato was a fruit until you just told me right now. I just always figured if I hate it, it's probably a vegetable. Learn something new every day.
That's why you like it on your pizza.
Yep.
See?
Okay, so with the water, a little bit more of the honey coming up. It's a little more honey forward. I know I said I'm going to get a lot of that first, but you got vanilla, you got honey, you got the fruits. It remains consistent. The grain, though, is adding something that I haven't quite put my finger on. I think it's what you're referring to as an oak note, and it may be an oak note. But I'm trying to dig a little deeper because I think that's where the spice is coming from.
I do think, yeah. I mean, again, we got good 20-year-old whiskeys in here. It's coming off up front like a 15-year-old in that it's vibrant.
It bites.
It's very vibrant. I mean, I don't know about bite. I'm saying like up front, it's that vibrant. It's like the Balvenie 15 years, those single barrels.
What I mean by the bite,
bright and vibrant.
Yeah, what I mean by the bite though is just to me the fruits are very predominant and very, very citrus forward, and to me that just feels like around 15-year-old whiskey. But then again, that's what I was getting on it neat.
But remember,
water on the nose, I feel like I get more of the fruit.
What I was going to say though is up front, it's like got the vibrancy of a 15-year-old where it's very youthful, it's sparky, it's got an oomph.
It is popping.
Whereas on the finish, that's where I start to get a little bit of, not so much leather, but I do get the oak. I get the spice. I can tell this is 20-year-old whiskey. As soon as I get to the end of this, oh man, I am really appreciating that there's a lot of depth and layer to the nose on this.
A little to get to in the bottle, so new. But I will say with a little bit of water, it does help pick up that oak note a little bit more. All right, Dustin, so we're as far as a whiskey score on this one.
I mean, I hate giving a score this early. With just this one pour.
It is hard when we just open the bottle. So
yeah.
Take this with a grain of salt.
We may come back to this one later. There's definitely this potential to get higher. I'm going to give it an 87, Mike. A very high one where I think this is going to become an 88 as it opens up, maybe an 89. That's where I'm at. Basically, mouthfeel, pushing 90.
Yep, great mouthfeel.
Nose, 88, 89. Finish is where really I'm kind of sitting here going, it's not doing enough for me on the finish. In fact, truth be told, it's kind of the same whiskey from start to finish with just, going from sweet to oaky, which every old whiskey does.
Yeah, really, I agree that the finish is kind of where this falls off. And we've disagreed on the finish of this whiskey more than any part of this experience.
The notes, yes.
But I tell you what, I agree, great mouthfeel. Really good viscous palate, on this. If you like fruity whiskeys and a little bit of oak, you're going to enjoy this. There's really nothing off-putting here. I mean, the worst thing I could say is a little bit of stinging citrus, but if you like citrus, you like lemon, lime, those type of things, which I do in certain amounts, there's nothing off-putting about it.
For me, I can't find a single off note here.
No, it's a clean job.
I mean, this is, honestly, if you're trying to get somebody into whiskey who isn't into stuff, I shouldn't say that. If you're trying to get somebody into like a little bit of a finer whiskey, more depth, more richness, maybe they drink like a Glenmorangie 10, and you really want to bring them to the next level, this might be a way to go, although this is $320, Mike.
Yeah, I'll say more if you're drinking a Glenmorangie 18, maybe then you go to something like this. That's a heck of a jump. But yeah, and there are some similarities of those, either Highlands or Speyside whiskeys, the ones that are using bourbon cask maturation. Feels like a very light, airy spirit, despite the fact that it's oily, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
All right, Dustin, I'm basically the same guy. I was going to say 87 too.
Okay.
I didn't want to just copy off you, but again, that's a safe, easy score. That's like a pretty good whiskey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I imagine this is going to get better, and then maybe here in a year or so, maybe come back around to it or something.
Yeah.
If it changes.
Yeah, at the $320 price point, Mike, I'm going to say this is a Compass Box Geek buy. This is an Imperial fanboy buy.
You're both?
And if you're, I wouldn't say I'm a fanboy of Imperial. I just happened to like the last time they did it. I was excited to see what they do.
You're definitely Compass Box fanboy.
I'm probably not buying another whiskey out of this series unless they stick a Port Ellen or Brewer in there and charge this price.
It is expensive, but these guys have built up a lot of goodwill, in my opinion.
They have, I think this is about $100 more than it should cost based on what I'm getting here right now. This is $220, $250. That's right where this bottle should be. Maybe the UK price is a little lower, but generally speaking, Compass Box is not one of those brands that we get big markups here in the US on. So
those are our thoughts on the whiskey. When you guys have a chance to try this one, let us know what you guys think. Again, we may revisit if it's changed dramatically at some point in the future. Again, we just cracked this today, so we kind of wanted to tell you guys what was going on if you're going to spend the big bucks to jump into another Compass Box.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are our thoughts on the whiskey. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section. Until next time, Dustin, what do we wish the folks?
Happy artful drinking.
See you then. Beautiful, beautiful label.
Yeah.